232. You guys just come into Hyannis.
Well, you get different levels. You know, you get obviously the beginners that don't believe that they're an addict and don't consider themselves an addict and will get upset with you or somebody else, you know, if you classify them. You know, they're like, oh, I don't have a problem, you know, it was just this one time. And all it takes is once, you know, whether it's heroin or any type of opiate pill. And then you have other ones that aren't ready to give it up. You know, they enjoy it too much, that they haven't hit their rock bottom, and they don't want to give it up and they don't want to get better. And then you have other ones that are just doing it to stay alive and stay, you know, not sick. And you know, some of them will try to go to detox, and as soon as they get out of detox, they're in the same element, and then they're right back at it 2 days. So
actually down the street here. Last summer we got called for somebody got dropped out of a vehicle, and it ended up being an overdose, as it usually is, into a parking lot down the street. And we get there and we hop out with our bags, we start working on the female. It was like a 55, 60-year-old female, and we start doing CPR on her, working on her, trying to figure out, we had nobody else there, it was just her dumped in the parking lot. And they give like a partial play to the vehicle or whatever that had dropped her off. And she had been dead for probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And the story turned out that she overdosed in the car in like Yarmouth or Dennis. He drove her all the way to the hospital, got to the area of the hospital, and then didn't want to bring her in for fear of repercussion or whatever. So ended up dumping her in a parking lot and taking off. Some 60-year-old female. It's just kind of like, lady could have been your mom, you know what I mean? And it's just the way people deal with the addiction and you know, all the overdoses, how ridiculous it can be when it happens. People don't really know. People think that if somebody OD'd, you know, 2 people were using drugs and 1 person ODs, that they can get in trouble for asking for assistance for their friend who's on the verge of dying. And you know, they've taken that out, that if they call us for somebody's medical emergency related to heroin overdosing or so forth, you know, nobody gets in, you don't get in trouble with that. And people have learned that over time, but when it first started to happen, people wouldn't call us. They'd wait too long, the person would die, and then they'd call us, and or dump the person off somewhere. We had dump offs at the hospital.
Well, first of all, I think it goes both ways. I think people look at someone who has an addiction problem and thinks that they must be your stereotypical junkie who doesn't work, doesn't have a job, probably, you know, commits some crimes, and that's the type of person that is an addict. And I think that affects people who are addicts because they, and I think rightfully so, believe that that's how people look at them. When we all know that there are addicts that hold full-time jobs, and they have families, and they're probably good people that, you know, by some path ended up addicted. So it's not always that person. And I think because that, I do think that's part of the reason that some people have a hard time finding help, is that there's a stigma, and they want to try and handle it themselves and beat the problem on their own, because they don't want anybody else to know that they're going through this, because that they are looked at as a good person, and they don't want to jeopardize that view that people have on them.